Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, we're talking about what's gearing up to be the absolute most monumental sporting event in human history, the 2026 World Cup. It's the biggest tournament we've ever seen. But as teams prepare their rosters and fine-tune their tactics, there's this massive, invisible variable looming over the entire competition. Today, we're going to look at the data to show you exactly why the absolute toughest opponent in this tournament isn't actually a football team at all. So think about this for a second. If it's not defending champions like Argentina, and it's not European heavyweights like France or Spain, what is the biggest opponent waiting for these players at the 2026 World Cup? What could possibly drain a team's energy before they even step onto the pitch?
Okay, let's dive into this. The answer? It's geography. The sheer immense North American footprint of this tournament literally changes everything. We're talking about a competition that stretches out over an entire continent. That means travel is no longer just some background consideration or an afterthought for the coaching staff. It has literally become an active, measurable, competitive factor that will absolutely dictate who has the legs to survive the knockout stages. Section 1. The Unprecedented Scale, a Tournament of Firsts. Hosted across three massive nations, the United States, Canada, and Mexico. The first thing we really need to grasp is the expansion. By jumping from the traditional 32 teams all the way up to 48 teams, FIFA has completely rewritten the script. This expansion adds 40 extra games to the schedule. That results in a staggering total of 104 matches. The physical demand on both the tournament infrastructure and the players is just unlike anything ever attempted before. And, those 104 matches aren't happening in one localized region. They're spread out across 16 different host cities. We're talking about venues spanning from Vancouver way down to Mexico City, and from Los Angeles all the way across to New York and New Jersey. This massive spread really sets the stage for why this is, without a doubt, the most logistically demanding World Cup ever conceived. And just to really anchor us in the sheer, massive scale and cost of this historic event, here is a wildly surprising fact we pulled from the data. If you're lucky enough to actually score a ticket and you plan on driving, maximum matchday parking at these venues is projected to cost up to $300. Yeah, it's a premium event in every single sense of the word.
Section 2. The Logistical Adversary. Calculating the pain. So to really understand this travel burden, analysts calculated the distance every single nation would cover if they successfully reached the final, based on their assigned stadiums. And to do this, they used something called the Haversing formula. Basically, this calculates the Great Circle, or, as the crow flies, flight distances between 2 points on the globe. By mapping out the routes from the opening matches all the way to the final in July, the data proves that travel inequality is at record levels. It's a highly measurable metric of physical drain.
Moving on to Section 3, the lucky few, compact paths to glory.
Now, what's really interesting here is how tightly clustered some of these routes actually are. If they win their group, Mexico has the most compact route to the final of any team at just 5,188 kilometers. I mean, their host advantage means extremely clustered match locations, playing their group stage matches primarily at the Estadio Azteca and in Guadalajara. Following right behind is the Korea Republic at 5,588 kilometers, with a highly stable linear path. And get a load of France. At just 6,087 kilometers, they have one of the most compact journeys of any major contender, spending almost all of their time making short little hops in the American Northeast.
Section 4. The Punishing Journeys, a Cross-Continent Slog.
Now, if you're rooting for Cabo Verde, you might want to send them some extra legroom upgrades, seriously. If they advance through their first-place route to the final, they're going to travel an astonishing 12,866 kilometers. This is a brutal coast-to-coast zigzag route with no geographic rhythm to it whatsoever. It is the absolute highest potential travel burden in the entire tournament. To truly grasp how unequal this all is, just look at this direct comparison. On one side, we have Mexico cruising through a highly localized 5,188-kilometer route. On the other side, we have tournament favorite Spain staring down a massive 12,593-kilometer slog. Guys, that is a staggering gap of over 8,000 kilometers in travel disparity. The playing field, geographically speaking, is absolutely not level. Let's break down exactly why Spain's route is so punishing, even if they do everything right and actually win their group. They start with a stable base in Atlanta, which sounds great, but then they're forced to make a massive cross-border jump down to Mexico. From there, the knockout stages require them to repeatedly shuttle back and forth between Los Angeles and Dallas. The time zones, the changing climates, the sheer hours spent in pressurized airplane cabins, it's a grueling cross-country marathon before they even touch the ball.
Section 5. The Group Stage Gamble. Placement changes everything.
You know, in most World Cups, winning your group basically just means you get to play a weaker team next. But in 2026, finishing first versus second completely changes the literal miles you are forced to fly, and this brilliantly illustrates that point. Take the defending champions, Argentina. If they win their group, they enjoy a very smooth eastward arc, totaling just 6,846 kilometers, moving from the southeast up through the central U.S. and finishing in the northeast. But if they stumble and finish second in their group, their travel distance explodes to 10,864 kilometers. That second-place path drags them into a punishing back-and-forth shuttle between Los Angeles and Dallas. Literally, one bad match in the group stage will cost them exactly 4,000 extra kilometers of travel. No pressure, right?
But here is the bizarre irony, especially for the United States. If the USA wins their group, their so-called reward is a heavy 10,501-kilometer journey that keeps them stuck on the West Coast for a long time before making a major jump inland and then finally over to the East Coast. However, if the USA finishes second in their group, their route shifts to a much more centralized and eastern path, dropping their total travel to 9,620 kilometers. For the U.S., finishing second actually results in less geographical punishment than winning their group. Crazy, right? Let's move to the timeline and see how this all builds across the tournament. The madness officially begins on June 11, 2026, with the opening match featuring Mexico against South Africa, which, fun fact, is an exact repeat of the 2010 World Cup kickoff. From there, the 104-match gauntlet runs through mid-June across the 16 cities, ultimately culminating in the massive final in New York and New Jersey in July. It's an incredibly tight, fast-paced window for such extreme movement.
Section 6. The ultimate decider. Fatigue versus form. So, the crucial point is summarized perfectly by this quote right here from the data analysis. In a tournament this spread out, fatigue may be as decisive as form. You can have the best tactics in the world, the sharpest strikers, and an absolute wall of a goalkeeper. But if your squad has spent 4,000 more kilometers in the air than your opponent, dealing with jet lag and lost recovery time, the physical toll becomes a massive, undeniable hidden variable on the pitch. As we look ahead to the summer of 2026, I want to leave you with this final thought. When the confetti falls in New York and the captain lifts that iconic golden trophy, will the 2026 champion simply be the best footballing team in the world? Or will they be the team that spent the least amount of time on an airplane? You're definitely going to want to keep an eye on those flight trackers, because geography might just write the history of this World Cup. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.